topics, inshallah, hopefully to you. And we're going to talk about the ideal citizen. Is there actually something called an ideal citizen? Do such people exist amongst us today?
No.
We will find out throughout the show. And if actually you think the answer is yes, so if you disagree with Dr. Wael there and you think the answer is yes, and you have a description for such a person, please do call us on 24602058. That is 24602058. Before we get into talking about, who is an ideal citizen and who is a bad citizen, or according to our limited knowledge, of course, we would really like a lot of contribution from the audience today, from the listeners, on what they think or what they would see an ideal society look like if we have that definition of an ideal citizen. But first of all, let's talk about who is a citizen. Well, who is a citizen?
I don't have a very scientific a definition of a citizen, but my understanding, a citizen is anyone who is part of a group. And any citizen would be part of several groups. He or she would be part of a family. That is a group. And then would be part of a neighborhood. That is another group. Mm-hmm. The same person would be part of a town, of a village, of a nation, and of the world. So all of us are citizens which are part of several communities, very small communities, which is our families, and very large communities, we're talking about the world. So we are all citizens of the world. We are all part of all these communities. And a citizen is someone who can prioritize between different, what can you say? The interests of each group or subgroup. Do I put my own individual interest first? What type of citizen would I be if I do that? Do I put my family's values or interests first above my national interests? Do I put the world's interests at heart before anything else? So I think the ideal citizen is someone who would start from looking at the interest of the world first of everything, before everything else. And the least of his priorities would be himself.
That's a very good point, Wael. And I think, so basically, as you were speaking, I just imagined bigger and bigger circles.
Yes.
The small circle being yourself, and then the surrounding, the family, and then the neighborhood, the wilaya, and then the country, and then the world as a whole. Yeah. But in order to put maybe the world first or the nation first, maybe I think the focus should start from within. So if I say citizen starts from oneself, I don't mean that that you should put yourself in front of other surroundings. But what I mean is that if we start by improving ourselves,
yes,
and that's by, for example, establishing a good connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and following His commands, that will allow you to improve yourself. Once you have improved yourself from within, that will be reflected upon your family, which will then in turn be reflected into your society.
Yeah.
And that's how we can then touch all these spheres that we discussed that include citizenship.
Of course, if you look at the world, it's made up of little countries, a lot of countries. Every country made up of hopefully one single society. Yeah? So society and nation is the same. You could have nations with several societies, and you need to gel these societies together. If you look at any particular societies, it comprises of little cells, and these cells would be the family. And at the heart of the family is the individual. So everything is interconnected with each other.
Absolutely.
Which means that an ideal citizen would always be alert and aware that every action or transaction they do would have a significant effect on the larger circle.
Absolutely.
On the family first, on the neighborhood, on the city, on the nation, and on the world.
Absolutely. And as you were speaking, I remember the verse from Surah Al Imran, verse number 110. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. This somehow summarizes in 3 points the behavior that one individual will do but affects the community. Because it says, you are the best community ever raised among the people. You advocate righteousness and you forbid evil, and you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if in every action we do, we are promoting what is good, and
Yeah.
we are stopping and preventing what is bad, that will first have an effect on us, on our family, and in the community as a whole. Of course, throughout the show today, Wael, we're going to break down these points,
Yes.
or this verse, into several points. I think we have 20 points to cover,
Yeah.
on how, we can achieve reaching to this ideal citizen through our actions.
Yes, and what you have mentioned there, or what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us through this verse, it really makes, this is the core of any value that an ideal citizen should have, is being able not only to live life the right way, but also to be aware that it is my responsibility to ensure others do the same.
So being responsible
Not
for
only for
yourself,
yourself,
but also
and for
ensuring
others as well. Not being responsible for others' actions, but you are responsible to ensure that you do your best to educate others,
get them involved.
get them involved. What is totally against this is selfishness. You can't be an ideal citizen if you're selfish. Yeah. Imagine the selfish driver who drives on the road, does not indicate, he moves from one lane to the other, regardless of who is driving near him, above him, below him, in front of them, or at the back. They just move speed without indicating. That is not exhibiting the attitudes or the attributes of a good citizen.
So here we can say that one point, or we can even label it as our number 1 point, as a good citizen would be somebody who follows rules and laws of the country. Would you agree?
Yes, that's true. But this one also falls under another category, which is respect. If I want to, if I see you queuing somewhere, if I want to be ahead of you, what would I do? If I really have the urge to be ahead of you, it's maybe I need to go somewhere, I need to finish quickly, let's say in a supermarket, I will ask your permission. Can I please be ahead of you? I only have an item or two. Do that when you drive. You can ask permission. If you want to change lanes and be in front of someone when you are driving, indicate.
Yeah.
That's a way of saying, can I please move lanes and come in front of you and move towards your lane.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's an attitude of that shows respect.
Respect the rights of others.
Yeah, it's not only respecting the law, but also showing respect to others. When people live for themselves, focusing on their own needs only, without any respect to what other needs, and without any little concern of how their acts would affect others, the resulting moral decay contaminates the entire nation. Yeah, there is a moral decay, and that decay will definitely contaminate other people as well.
Yeah.
If you act in a bad way, if your mood is not good, and you act and behave according to that bad mood when you go to work, you contaminate other people's moods. You make other people miserable as well. But if you realize that your bad mood will affect others, and you work hard not to show other people that your mood is bad, and smile at them, that is an act of good citizen, because you do not want to your own bad mood to be contagious and contaminate other people's lives.
Yeah.
However, if you feel in a good mood, you'll spread it.
Absolutely. And talking about following rules and laws of a country, what would we say about taking responsibility of your actions? A lot of people say they complain about the government having the basma. You have to put your fingerprint before when you walk in and when you walk out.
Yeah.
And this wouldn't be the case if all the citizens did stick to the official timing. That wouldn't have been in place unless there was an issue to start with. So maybe part of also keeping the timing of your work and attending work at the right time and leaving at the right time is also part of being a good citizen.
Being responsible.
Yeah.
Being responsible is at the heart of our teachings as Muslims.
Yeah.
Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam قال كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. Every one of us, every individual Muslim has a certain responsibility towards someone or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one lives for themselves only, but you have a larger responsibility towards others and towards your country. Now, those who come very late, They do not respect the law. They do not respect people who came there early and receive the same pay.
Mm-hmm.
They justify their pay by coming on time.
Yeah.
And they didn't show any respect for those who came needing their services.
Exactly.
So if you are a public servant, and come late, you come at 9 o'clock when people are there waiting for you since 7 o'clock.
Consequences.
There are consequences on other people. You have been responsible, and it is your responsibility to look after those people who need your services. You didn't. People will leave there angry. People left their work, their jobs, to be there.
Exactly.
They will need to leave their jobs again, and other people's job will be delayed
So
because
the
of you.
inefficiency at work as well. Come back. So you'll go and you'll ask to get something done, and then they will ask you to get a bunch of paperwork, provide this and provide that. And sometimes they would not bother even giving you the full list, so you'll have to come back to the same place over and over just because they were not responsible enough to give you a full list of items that you need to finish your task.
This is an example of people not taking ownership. They don't care.
Not even responsible.
Yes, not taking ownership of the work. If I take ownership of this work, the piece of work I was given, and my work is to actually advise you, then I don't care. If I don't care what type of advice I give you, then why am I there? Why are you doing this job if you don't like it? If you don't want to execute your work to the best of your ability, why do you even bother do it?
Some people
just leave it
might
to
say
somebody else.
Get a salary and satisfied, I get my money at the end of the month, whether I do my job. Because there's no punishment.
Is that your money? Is your money, can you justify that, receiving that money, that it is clean money?
Halal, yeah.
Yeah, it is not halal. It is not clean money. If you just receive that money because you know that there is no one is watching over you,
forgetting that there's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
There is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and 2 angels watching over you.
Yeah.
And every day you work, something is written on your books, on your records.
Exactly.
That one day you'll see it.
I want to take this opportunity to thank the people out there in the governments and in public places who actually do an amazing job. And I need to salute these people because, and I would like to encourage others to look at these people as role models. And because really they make your day. When you have this person who's efficient, who gets out of their way and they help you, I just feel like giving them a hug, because these kind of people show you that they care. They don't waste your time. Okay. They're doing their job 100%. And they need to be recognized. So I would like to take this chance to thank all those people. Inshallah, more of them. Hopefully we'll see more of them.
we have seen, alhamdulillah, a lot of young Omanis who really take responsibility, and especially when you have problems. I remember I've called one of the companies. I've called the call center. I've said, I have a problem, and it was actually Oman Tel. Yeah. And the level of service I got was brilliant. I've rang the first time. I've complained about a cable that was damaged, and they were supposed to fix it within few days. That wasn't fixed, and the person on the other line, on the other side of the phone, he said, this must be fixed, and if it doesn't, this is what you need to do, X, Y, and Z. This is what you need to do, and it is your right. And you shouldn't pay for the time of interruption of the service because of A, B, C, and D. Yeah? So people who make you feel that you need to know the rules, we know them, we let you know.
Yes.
Yeah?
And
you salute these type of attitudes from young Omanis who work really hard to go beyond than just answering your questions.
Absolutely, and you see these kind of examples in a lot of companies. I mean, I wouldn't stick or name in a specific company because you find them, they are actually individuals.
Yeah.
And here I urge the companies actually to train their staff and employees to have that sense of citizenship, to do their job for the sake of a better Oman, a better community. Because if the community, if the company itself takes charge or instills this value in the staff, then all the staff will behave that way.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing, unfortunately, right now are just individual cases. And you see examples of good and bad in each company.
True.
So it will be really nice to see organizations that behave like that as a whole.
True. It is, as you said, it's a matter of national pride. a good citizen would do things for their own country rather than do it for themselves. You don't do that to earn money. When I work, it is not my sole objective to earn money. Yeah, one of my best objective, or on the top of my list, would be to serve the country.
Yes.
I would like to be part of developing the country.
Yeah. So this is where you think of the nation first, and then yourself later.
Yes, I remember yesterday I was I was in a meeting where someone described a team that came to Oman from Korea, and that team worked overnight every single day during their visit in Oman. And one of the Omanis asked them, "Why do you do this? Do you get paid for overtime?" They said, "No, we don't." Then the guy could not comprehend or understand. Why do they do that? Why do they work overtime? He then followed that by another question. Okay, if you don't get overtime, do you get a yearly bonus? And they said, "No." He said, "Why do you slave yourself for the company that way?" He said, "We don't work for the company. We work for Korea. It only happens that we work for Korea through this company, and we are serving our country regardless."
Beautiful attitude. I think we have a phone call.
We have a phone call. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Hi.
Hi. We have, dear listeners, we have on the line here Mr. Raul Rastucci, Managing Director of PDO. Raul, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Privileged to be on.
Thank you. It's really an honor to have you here with us on the Art of Living. You've accepted the invitation immediately, and as I said, it's an honor to have someone like you talk about citizenship and good citizenship in Oman. We've known you always as a people's person, where you always have the interest of your employees at heart. We would like to ask you, Raul, what is it that makes what are the attitudes or the attributes that should be within an employee to be a good citizen or a good employee at work?
Well, first, thank you for your kind words. I guess the list would be quite long, but we can all come up with key attributes such as humility, the ability to listen carefully and understand the bigger picture, the requirement for being proactive and drive change, the opportunity to challenge the status quo, therefore having courage. But I think in terms of a good corporate citizen, what differentiates someone is attributes of caring. Success for that individual is everyone else's success. Mm-hmm. It's about supporting, listening, mentoring, and it's about doing. Because without the three-legged stool, if only two of those arms work, then the third one fails. So walking the talk, not only motivating, inspiring people, but actually driving change, recommending change, whether it be in terms of business models, whether it be in terms of driving agendas, whether it be in terms of engaging with the community and joining forums. And of course, the key features that I think differentiate someone that is interested about helping the community.
Yes, the majority of the attributes that makes a good citizen, it's all about working for others and putting others first, and putting oneself at the end of the list always. Secondly, is the humbleness, as you said, being humble and being passionate about what you do. How do you gauge today's young Omanis' attitude in general, and what advice would you like to give them to exhibit more patriotism, being more patriotic, more let's say have the national objectives first?
Well, it's a good question. I think if we can instill and fire up somebody's pride in what he or she does, we're halfway there. So it is about unleashing that potential, that talent that everyone has, but inspiring that person through pride in serving Oman. That's one of our credo statements in PDO. We're proud to serve Oman, and that drives internal pride. It drives people's desire to help the community, And it also drives confidence in the individual that he or she can contribute. The second part is support.
Yeah.
You need people around you that support you. No matter how strong and confident you are, you always need somebody to give you a pat on the back and encourage you, commend you, or guide you if you're not delivering as expected. So I'm privileged in PDO to have an incredibly talented team, and their success is very much driven by their passions, their commitment, but ultimately their desire to serve Oman.
Thank you very much for that, Raoul. Another question we'd like to ask you about an example of a good citizen. We have the late Sheikh Khalfan, may Allah rest his soul in peace. You have known Sheikh Khalfan as an Omani, as a citizen. He was an employee once in PDO, and his role in supporting local communities. What could you tell us about Sheikh Khalfan and what and your experience with him?
Well, firstly, an incredible loss to the country and humanity. His untimely passing away was truly sad and tragic. But he was simply put, he was a force for good. He was an incredibly passionate, committed person that cared about people. He was committed to youth development, put an enormous amount of time in community awareness programs, was a fantastic lecturer, mentor. I think until the day when he passed away, he was engaging with people. The day before, he was supporting a board meeting by video conference. I had the privilege to meet Sheikh Khalfan in a number of leadership, safety, and other community engagement forums. And he was just full of energy, full of desire. He was always optimistic. He would always focus on radiating possibilities rather than get bogged down into dwindling vicious circles.
Yeah.
So he just energized everybody around him, and the care came through. He was committed at helping everyone around him.
Yeah, he was, until the last minute, he was always planning ahead of what other good deed will I be able to do. I remember just few days before he passed away, I visited him, and that was the conversations we had is about what are the plans for us together to do for the community. The plans that we discussed, but we never able to get through. So absolutely, he is an exemplary good citizen and a great loss for humanity, as you said.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Raoul, for being here with us and for sparing the time to be on the show. From me, Wael, and Lamia, and everyone on the Art of Living, we would really like to thank you for your contribution.
Thank you all, and it was my privilege.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That was a very nice contribution by Raoul. He summed up almost the whole show in major points. He discussed the main qualities of an ideal citizen, in short.
I think all the qualities that we spent all morning trying to find them and write them down, he summed them
up
beautifully.
Beautifully.
In 6 minutes. He mentioned a lot of things. He mentioned passion.
Yes.
Yeah. He mentioned optimism.
Energy.
Positivity.
Commitment.
And a sense of pride.
Yes, he did emphasize a sense of pride.
Yes, sense of pride. Two things, especially in a corporate environment, is you need to have a sense of pride. Mm-hmm. You need to be proud of what you do and where you belong. If you're not proud about your family, you will not devote yourself to them. Mm-hmm. If you're not proud about your community, you will not devote yourself to them. If you're not proud about your country, you will not devote yourself for your country. So pride is a key element that Raoul has mentioned that is really important. If we are proud about something, we'll devote ourselves, our times, our lives for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And secondly, we are human beings. We have our shortfalls. Sometimes our morale is up and sometimes our morale is down. Mm-hmm. That's why we need people to support us. And that was the second thing that he mentioned.
Yeah, the pat on the back is always good.
Yes, the pat on the back, and whenever you feel down, you have someone to pick you up.
And that's why, while you see how people, when you compliment simple jobs that you're satisfied with, when you're not happy about something, you complain. But when you're happy about something, for heaven's sake, please do compliment those people, because it makes a big difference in their lives, and it also gives them a driving force to even give more. So don't stick to only complaining about things that you don't like. If you find a service that you like, or an activity that you've been happy with, please compliment that person. And there's a lot of people out there, just like Sheikh Affan rahmatullahi alayh. There are a lot of examples, like the Koreans. There are a lot of Omanis who do that as well, who work over hours and who give it 100%. We have very good examples in Sultan Qaboos University, in the public relation department. Okay, we have people who work, for the expats. And that involves them, sorting out tickets in the last minute, working on the first days of, just until midnight before Eid. They leave their families and children, and they're actually sitting there in SQU, sorting out things and tickets for the expats. So they actually are very good examples as well in Oman, that we should actually give them a bit of a pat on the back. What do you think?
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. That's your pat on the back.
All right. Other characteristics or other, descriptions of an ideal citizen. Would you say even, how you treat your neighbor is part of being a good citizen?
Definitely. I mean, you are the closest cells that need to work together within the community. When we said that a society or a community made up of little cells together, and each cell comprises of a family. Yeah. Now, these cells living close to each other, they're very important to support each other. Because once you have a rotten cell, if a cancerous cell starts emerging, the first cell that is affected is the neighboring cell. Yeah, and also if you have goodness, the first person or the first people to feel the goodness is people who are close to you. So in goodness or in bad, it is your neighbor who will feel it first. So part of good citizenship is to maintain a very good relationship with your neighbor. And our beloved Prophet Muhammad said, "ما زال جبريل يوصيني بالجار حتى ظننت أنه سيورثه." The angel Gabriel has always recommended me to look after my neighbors, to the extent that I felt that he will make them inherit. Have them part of give them part of my inheritance. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe this is a good time to touch upon some social issues that we have.
Or maybe the better translation is that make them heirs. Yeah. Okay. To your inheritance.
Yeah. So I thought maybe it would be a good time today in this show to, while we're talking about being an ideal citizen and how to reach to that, ideal citizenship, maybe we should touch upon some things that are, common or that happen sometimes in the society that we would like to see a change in, because we said it's about driving change and trying to make a change. So by today's show, we are trying to make that change as well. Talking about neighborhood and thinking about the neighbors, we see some bad habits of, for example, throwing the trash outside the garbage instead of within the garbage. That causes a bad smell. It upsets the people in the neighboring area. Another example is people who have weddings and they're with their neighbors and their loud music playing all night. That's not also being thoughtful towards neighbors.
Now it actually went beyond that. Yeah, it went well beyond that. Some of the bad things that we see in society is not only the noise. If there is today we see tents in the middle of the road, and they block the roads completely so no one can ever pass.
Where is that?
This is in Muscat. Yeah, you see, and when you go and ask the neighbor, they say, well, we have actually had permission from the municipality.
Sorry, I'll just pause you for just a minute. We have a phone call. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Hello.
We lost him.
Okay.
We lost the caller.
Back to your point.
So they say we have requested permission from the municipality and they gave us permission. Now, the municipality is wrong because...
If that's true.
It is. No, it is true. It is true. It is happening, and it is a recurring thing nowadays that the neighbor never asks permission from his own neighbors. So he only gets them by surprise. I'm doing it. I have the country. Yeah, I have the government
He
approval.
might have not even needed that if he asked the neighbors nicely. You don't even have to go through the hassle of getting the permit, maybe. If you just ask nice, can I...
Well, the
I'm going
road
to
is a
have-
public
please
place.
excuse
The
me.
road is public place that is used by the neighbors and by strangers alike. So getting permission from the authorities is necessary.
Yeah.
However, it is the authorities' responsibility to ask the neighbors, do you object
Yeah.
to such a thing?
Absolutely.
Because it affects their lives. This is how it should happen. But unfortunately, these practices are not helping the community to gel. And simply by asking your neighbors, can I please do this? Yeah. Even if someone has an objection, if you ask nicely, you might get it.
Yes.
You have a better chance of getting it. So we urge the listeners there to help each other, to help the community, to avoid such things happening.
Yeah, even as a simple example as when people are building, they would take the sand on the rocks and dump it in the neighboring land. Sometimes it's a necessity and you have to do it, but then the minimum, the least you can do is actually ask that person, can I please use that small piece of land next to you just temporarily to dump my, stones or whatever.
Absolutely.
And the answer is normally yes.
Yeah.
So it's not as difficult. I think we have a...
We have a call.
Yeah.
It's our guest.
Oh,
it's I think we need to introduce the guest.
Yes, معتصم السريري, السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
Thank you so much, معتصم السريري, to accept our invitation. Let me just give a brief introduction. So معتصم, who is with us today in the studio online, is the head of the Corporate Sustainability Department at Oman Oil Company. And correct me if I am wrong, you're the Insta8 guy, aren't you?
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely. Fantastic. معتصم, thank you very much for joining us.
Mu'tasim, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. And could you, first of all, before we go into details of what makes an ideal citizen, what made you start Insta8 and what is it all about?
Sorry, I couldn't hear. Probably the line is not very clear on my end.
Okay. I'm asking about Insta8. How did the idea come about and what is it? What is Insta8?
The 8?
Yes.
Insta8.
You are the creator of Insta8?
No, you mean Gaito probably.
Gaito.
That's a different program.
Okay, it's a different one.
It's a different topic then.
Okay.
by all means.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are the head of social responsibility in Oman Oil, correct?
Yeah.
What is the role of that? Immediately when you say social responsibility, that is the corporate social responsibility. But we're talking about the individual social responsibility. What is our responsibility towards our society as individuals?
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank you once again, Dr. Weil and Dr. Lamia, for the kind invite. When we talk about social responsibility, of course, it means your ability as a person or as a corporate to add value to your neighboring communities or the local community, in other words. There are many ways and means where you can do so. Islam, the Quran has defined it, whereby we have, in fact, lots of ways. An example to that is the zakat. Mm-hmm. And it shows the unity and the contribution of a person to a group of people. But when it comes to the corporate responsibility or sustainability in the corporate world, it means our ability to, in fact, respond to the local aspirations, the local community aspirations, not only in terms of contributing via the economic benefits, but also through preserving the environment and adding values to the demanding social needs and aspirations.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to the individual responsibility, there are many ways where you can add value. An example to that, which I always keep referring to, is our ability to preserve our natural resources.
Yes.
Water, for example. If we basically look into statistics, an average person would consume around 300 liters per day on average. Unfortunately, that in fact amount of water if you look at it, it's a waste. Almost 50% of that is a waste, and can be, in fact, reduced by using simple techniques.
Mm-hmm.
The way that we wake up in the morning and start our day by brushing our teeth, we can simply, close the tap during that period.
Yeah.
So that is, in fact, the personal contribution you can make in order to respond to the social needs that we have.
So a small task, small action, but big impact.
Indeed.
And Mu'tasim, by doing that, you're not only helping the environment, and you are helping your nation, saving money, because it's actually costing the government a lot of money to desalinate seawater to give you fresh water. It costs the government quite a lot of money to subsidize fresh water and electricity. So just because we're getting it cheap, it doesn't mean that we need to abuse it. There is another dimension to all of this, is the global impact of us saving energy and saving water. So I think a good citizen needs to bear in mind all these dimensions, and always keep an open mind about the impact an individual has on the world.
Indeed. And if you look up at such a matter from a social dimension, you always need to think about what you would keep as a legacy for the future generation.
Yes.
And what can you basically design for the future of your kids? You can put a picture from now and draw it and expect how would the future of your kids would look like, and how you as a person would like, in fact, your kids live. Accordingly, you have to respond for that from now, and you have really to work hard in order to make them live, if not the same standard, but better standard. And, there are many scarce resources that we all of us know now, that unless we really make a change from now and start doing it personally, as a person and as a group in the society, probably the next generation might suffer from our, in fact, behaviors and our in fact, actions at the current time.
Absolutely. So it's very important that each person holds accountable to their behaviors and their actions. Mu'tasim, can you tell us a little bit about what kind of programs you have, social programs in the organization? Because we know that to be an ideal citizen, it can come from within a person. It can also be aided by, an organization. PDO have their efforts, Oman Oil have their efforts, all sorts of companies, they have their efforts in making a difference in the community and making this a better citizenship and a better place. Can you give us some kind of projects that you have been in charge of to make a difference?
Yeah, at Oman Oil Company, we've been focusing on a number of pillars. Human capital development. We also focus on providing meaningful employment opportunities, as well as other pillars like environment and road safety. In terms of capacity building, we have also done a number of initiatives for youth, for those who are job seekers, as well as for students at schools. And in particular, we've done a program called Ghaito. In English, it means it's time.
Yes.
Which aimed the idea of this program is all about encouraging youth at a very young age. We are talking here about kids between the age of 13 and 15 to start their own business. If you look at what they've been taught about starting a business, it's all theoretical. But this program picks it up from there and encourages them not only via learning what it means to start your own business, but starting your own real business at that age at a very short time. So this program has benefited more than, in fact, 400 kids around the Sultanate, and really made an impact for them, because it's a very interesting time for them to think about the third option available in their life. They may want to work for the private sector company or government sector company, or be self-employed.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mu'tasim, for accepting the invitation. We really enjoyed your input and contribution. Please do stay tuned, and if you actually want to add anything later on, you're more than welcome to call us again.
Thank you very much for the kind invite, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much,
Thank you, Mu'tasim. We really wish that you were here with us today in the studio. We'd have wanted more of that information. We really enjoyed it thoroughly. So thank you very much. I would like to remind our listeners that you could call us on 24602058. That's 24602058. You're listening to The Art of Living, and today we are discussing the ideal citizen. What really makes an ideal citizen? Who are you? How do you classify yourself? Are you a good citizen, and why? Please call us on 24602058.
Mu'tasim mentioned a few points in his phone call. He mentioned that they focus as a corporate on the environment. He also mentioned charity and community involvement or engagement. So if we want to break down those points, if you want to be a good citizen, you need to protect the environment. Because again, it's a bigger home for us.
Yeah.
That will then be getting involved in recycling projects, being proactive, avoiding littering, and actually being involved in cleanup campaigns.
True. And what he said about abusing water, that is very, very true. And even people who are not used to go for recycling, let's just start with water.
Electricity.
Yeah. It's just seeing how people open the tap to the full with a pressure pump, on the top of their houses. Just for a very simple task, they use easily more than 10 times what they actually need.
Yes.
Yeah. Try when you design your house, when you buy a water tap, don't just look for the most fancy looking one. There are ones that have conserve water, where they produce a lot of bubbles. They have aerators in them. Yeah. So when you actually open the tap, you get a lot of air. It's basically just a little bit of water on the surface, and inside it is just air.
Yeah.
Because the thing that will wet your body is just the water on the surface, and the rest of it is nothing.
I mean, in so many other applications and ways. I mean, we discussed this in a whole show when Dr. Mahdi was here to talk about the environment and sustainability. So if people want to actually have even more ideas, they can go back to that show that will hopefully upload soon, inshallah.
Yes, we will upload all our episodes on voiceoman.com. That's voiceoman.com very soon, inshallah. We started uploading some of the other shows. Let's Connect and Hatim's show as well, Life as It Is, and hopefully our episodes will be there in probably a couple of days, inshallah.
We'll take another phone call. Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Shaheen, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Lamia and Wael, this is Shaheen with you.
Yes, we recognize your voice. We miss you when you don't call.
Oh my God, thank you.
How are you doing, Shaheen?
I'm fine. How are you?
What do you have for us today?
Well, I have a slightly different approach to an ideal citizen.
Sure.
Of course, I'm a resident of Oman. I'm not a citizen of Oman. First and foremost.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think it's very difficult to find an ideal citizen because I think an ideal citizen stays and lies only in books. But yes, rather than calling someone as an ideal citizen, we might say he or she is a good citizen. And in my humble opinion, I think an ideal citizen could be equated to a good citizen who follows the rules of a country, follows the laws, abide by the laws. And whatever contribution that individual, that person, wherever he or she is staying, can contribute in his or her own small way, then he becomes a good citizen.
Absolutely.
To serve my point in a better way, I could give you some very small examples and tips in everyday life that we, rather than not just as citizens, but even as residents, can contribute to our society.
Yes.
One of them being is recycling of paper, saving electricity, and parking. I have to commend the Oman government for having reserved spaces for the physically challenged people in Oman. And I always talk about this to my countrymen. I'm an Indian, and I speak very highly about what the government of Oman is doing for these physically challenged people by having reserve parking spaces for them. Secondly, I try to educate my students by advising them on something very simple, and maybe it might sound silly, but it is something very simple that they can do while they are driving on road, not to throw out wrappers or cigarette butts.
Oh, that's not simple at all.
Any other kind of stuff on the road while they are driving.
Absolutely.
Because we do hear people saying that one has to clean up the place if you happen to be on a beach, barbecuing or partying, which many people do not abide by.
Yes.
And of course, the parking problem as well in Oman, which quite a few people do not abide by.
Yes.
So I just try to remind people, whomever I come in contact with, and this is how we all can play our part in a very small way, because it is very difficult to actually identify an ideal citizen. But yes, we can definitely find good citizens and good residents. Hopefully that I am able to play my part for the development of Oman.
And I'm sure you are, Shaheen. Shaheen, do you mind? Thank you very much for all your points. Do you mind asking me where you? If I ask you, you said you're students. What do you do for a living?
Sorry?
You said that you give this advice to your students. So I'm just curious to know as to what your occupation is. Are you a lecturer?
Yes, I am.
MashaAllah. And is it in what field is it?
In English language.
MashaAllah. Thank you so much, Shaheen.
Yeah, I'm at Language Center at SQU.
Oh, we got to meet then, because I'm in Sultan Qaboos University in College of Science.
I got to know that only this morning.
MashaAllah. Inshallah, we'll get to meet you, Shaheen.
All right.
Thank you so much for your call. Thank you.
All right.
Important points that she mentioned, and I highlighted as she was speaking. I wrote down this point about not misusing the facilities provided, or not littering the environment. She mentioned that this is something small that she mentions to her students, but I think this is something very big.
True. What really caught my attention when she said, I'm not a citizen of Oman, I'm a resident. What we say is that a good citizen is a good citizen everywhere.
Exactly.
You are a citizen of Oman if you reside in Oman.
Exactly.
Yeah? We are not going by the political definition. Of citizen. It's a social definition when we talk, you are the citizen of the world. So a good citizen will spread goodness wherever they are.
Exactly.
Because wherever you go, you are in Allah's land. Wherever you go, it's one world. It's one community.
Exactly. جعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا. I think we have another phone call. Assalamu alaikum.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you?
I'm very well. Is this Rahma?
Yeah, Rahma.
Thank you very much for calling back, Rahma. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine.
What book are you at now? 26? We're keeping you 25, mashallah. We're keeping your statistics. This is some sort of motivation. Rahma, what do you have for us today?
I just want to say that being ideal citizen starts when you respect yourself before respecting others, because respecting yourself will automatically reflect your respect to others. And respecting yourself means that it can be you have a clear picture about the aim of your existence in this earth.
Yes.
By having principles that you follow in your life. It's not like just a mess life.
Yes.
You should know exactly why you are here and why you are doing this, why you should follow this, not following that.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, why we have very less number of ideal citizens, because we misunderstand the principles of Islam, which we should follow as Muslims.
Excellent point.
Because we focus just in the practical behavior of Islam. I mean, like salah, fasting, one month a year, and it's just like al-ibadat al-sulukiyya in Islam.
Yeah.
Just much more than focusing about being honest, about self-discipline, about respecting
courtesy,
others,
honest,
respecting others' opinions. Yeah.
So the transactions side of Islam is not being implemented.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, is dealing with each other in a courteous way. dealing with the environment in a respectful way, dealing with resources in a respectful way, in a manner that we do not abuse our resources.
Yeah.
Because all of these are part of our teachings. However, people do not go by it, and I feel that sometimes some of the ideas that people call for, like we need to segregate religion from life, or religion from this. Unfortunately, we get these calls within society, and these who, like puppets, just mimicking the voices that come from far away, alien to us, alien to our society, alien to our beliefs, alien to our culture. Islam is a way of life, and if we go by it, I think we will be very proud of ourselves, and people will be very proud to be part of our communities.
Yeah, that is exactly it. And it's very sad that when others look at Islam, we feel sometimes very humiliated the way they are thinking about Islam, that it's a strict religious, or it's very hard to be a Muslim, because actually I feel we have failed to be a good representatives of Islam. Because nowadays Islam is different, and Muslims are entirely different than Islam.
Yes.
That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true.
We will definitely continue talking about this point. Rahma, thank you very much for calling. We will break for... Thank you so much, Rahma, for tuning in. We will continue discussing your points, inshallah, after the break. Dear listeners, welcome back to The Art of Living. Today we have the topic we've been discussing about since 240 is the ideal citizen. We had two very interesting phone interviews with Raoul from PDO and Matasim Sariri from Oman Oil, who enlightened us with lots of interesting things to think about even after the show. So we stopped at talking about the criteria or the description of a good citizen. According to Shaheen, she prefers if we use good citizen just to be able to feel like it's more reachable at that stage.
Yeah.
While if we were to add three more, because we have 2 more minutes or 3 more minutes, 3 more characters of an ideal citizen, what would you want to add?
We talked about neighborhood and treating neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the bad attitudes of some neighbors, in terms of harming others and causing disturbance.
Yeah.
Another side of the coin is, when that happens to you as a good citizen, what would you do? Basically, it's tolerance. Be tolerant. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
A good citizen would tolerate his neighbor to a certain extent. Yeah. So part of being a good citizen and a good neighbor is be tolerant. If your neighbor has always been good to you, and on that day he had a wedding and he didn't contact you, he didn't let you know, and just blocked the road, and you've been neighbors for 10 years, and that's the only thing that he did, be tolerant, forgive him. Yes, it is a mistake. Forgive him for that single day. Just don't say anything about it. Maybe caution him later on. But not necessarily that you need to do something about it immediately and complain to the authorities, or talk to him in front of people in a bad way. Yeah. So tolerance is a very good thing to talk about.
And that applies everywhere. On the roads, you be tolerant to the people who honk at you, before the light turns, green. Be tolerant to the people who are crossing your line. Maybe you can advise them in a nice way. So maybe if somebody's not a good citizen, don't react by being a bad citizen yourself.
Yes, and I remember that a friend of mine once told me that they came across a young Omani on his Mustang who was driving recklessly and pulled over in a petrol station, and his whole attitude, he was very fast when he entered the station, and his attitude was really bad. And my friend wanted to really talk to him in a very, strong, give him very strong words, that what you do is wrong. His brother told him, no, let me just go and approach him and I will talk to him. So he approached him and he said, wow, what a wonderful car you have. and they just initiated that conversation, talking about the car, and the guy just opened up and said, yes, this car has this, it has that, and basically was very passionate about it. Through the conversation, he conveyed the message that, you know what, next time I think it'll be better if you pull over much slowly because of this and that. And he accepted it. So this is part of tolerating certain actions and doing something about it at the same time.
Again, this is something in our religion. وَادْعُ إِلَى رَبِّكَ بِالْحِكْمَةِ وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ.
Yes.
We should always be soft-spoken when we give advice to others, because then it enters into the heart. Another point that I would like to raise before we close the show is that getting a good education is a very important factor of being a good citizen on the long term. So if we invest in getting getting a good education, then we have better chances of getting better jobs, and that will contribute more to the economy of the country.
Absolutely. If you look today, unfortunately in Oman, in higher education, you have the very disturbing statistics. You have in almost every single college or private university in Oman, that the number of females are about 90%, and only 10% male students.
Why is that disturbing?
It is disturbing because you have, in the population, you have more male than female. And where do these people go? What do they do after completing their secondary education? What happens to them? These people, or these men or boys, will be fathers. Yeah, they will be civil servants, or they are expected to serve the community one day.
Yeah.
Without education, how will they be able to do that? If only women educate themselves and men decide go for the easy money immediately and work, let's say, for the army, or work for the police force, or work for very low skilled jobs, the long-term effects are very bad, and the future is not looking very bright for them. And unfortunately, if the future is bad for them, the future is bad for the whole community, society, and the country as a whole.
Yeah. And here the message that we're sending is that, we need people in all jobs. So if a big majority of the people go to, divert to specific jobs, then we have, we have a lack, or we're falling short in some other aspects, or some other jobs. So another point is working hard. Working hard when whatever job you have, working hard is part of being a good citizen. When you work hard, you are improving yourself, you're being a good citizen, and you provide services to others. And that services will then make you earn money, and all this contributes to a stronger economy in the area.
Work hard, not for the money. Work hard for your own satisfaction and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Fulfill your own satisfaction that what you do, you want to do to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
Do it for the community, do it for your country. Because whatever you do will have an effect. It doesn't matter what you do, even if you sweep the floors.
Yeah.
If you sweep the streets, you are doing something useful for the society. One of my colleagues, when we used to do our PhD, we used to ask him, what do you do after working hours, after leaving university? He said, I work as a floor manager.
A floor manager.
Yeah, that he was sweeping and mopping the corridors in hospitals. Back in his country, he's a lecturer, and he came to complete his studies as a PhD candidate. Mm-hmm. And yet he never said, this is too low for me. I would do something. I'll help the society, at the same time earn money to support my family.
Absolutely.
He took it very lightheartedly, and he used to joke about it. A floor manager in a studio, someone who really directs, the actors,
yeah,
or the cameras and all of that.
Yeah.
But the floor manager, he used to use that term, and he was just sweeping the floors of the hospital.
So the message is work hard no matter what job you have.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you will add a lot of value to society.
I think we need to wrap up, and maybe we can have we can sum up the show in 3 main points. One, we can say that trustworthiness, honesty, courtesy, respect the rights of others, responsibility, and respecting the law are all personal traits in an ideal or a good citizen, or that's what some of the characters that an ideal citizen should have. 2, to consider yourself an ideal citizen, we should have to be a good person on the inside and outside. So we need to first work on ourselves, and that will be reflected in our family and in our surroundings.
finally, I would like to add gratitude. Gratitude is one of the major, good attributes of a good citizen. Don't moan a lot about it. If you want to moan about something, do something. And at the same time, be thankful for the other things you have.
Yes. So drive positive change and try to reduce the nag.
Yes. And be thankful for the good things you have in life.
And last but not least, do all of that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This brings us to the end of our show. We really enjoyed having your phone calls and contributions. It was a lovely show, and we look forward to hearing from you again tomorrow. From the two of us, Lamia Al-Hajj,
Wael Harasi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.